Hello, hello. This is Kim J from Kim J Sweet Healthy Life. Thank you for coming to the channel today. So, I just wanted to find out, do you know your numbers? Let's get into it. So, when I ask, do you know your numbers? I'm not talking about the numbers that you're probably thinking about. I'm talking about blood glucose, blood pressure, number on the scale. If you're on a better health journey, you want to make sure you know at least these three numbers, correct? Yes. Also, you want to make sure that you're going to the doctor and letting them take blood so that we'll know how well we're doing on our better health journey. How we know if we're not checking our numbers? The only way you're going to be able to check things such as your vitamin D levels, your thyroid levels, your kidney levels, is for you to go to the doctor and do the blood work, or go to a blood testing center so that they can test your blood, and then they'll give you the results on how everything is going. There's a normal range, and you want to be in that normal range, right? But there are times when you're in the high range, and there's time when you may be in the low range. Well, how would you know that if you don't get your blood work checked, right? So yes, make sure that you're checking your numbers. Remember, knowledge is power. Now, when it comes to checking your blood pressure, even though we are going to the doctor every so often, which is great, and we're actually getting our blood pressure checked, often doctors urge you to not only get your blood pressure checked, but also make sure that you purchase a blood pressure monitor so that you can monitor your blood pressure at home. When we go to the doctor, a lot of us, our pressure may be high because of the anxiety of it all. You're being nervous because you're going to the doctor. You may be rushing to try to get there because you were in traffic and, it was an accident or something like that, or traffic was slow, and it gets you kind of, worked up. So they love to see those numbers from when you take your blood pressure at home so that they can get a better picture of how you're doing when it comes to your blood pressure. That way they can make sure that they have you on the right medications, as well as checking your blood glucose. For those who are diabetic, and it doesn't matter if your A1C is very high or a little high, it's often good to make sure you're checking your blood glucose by getting a glucometer, or you can get a continuous glucose monitor. Now, they say that the glucometer is better detects what your blood sugars are at that moment, but a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, also really good too, because it actually checks your sugar continuously throughout the day. When it comes to the glucometer, you're going to prick your finger with a device and then put the blood from the finger on a strip and find out what your blood sugar is at that moment. But it only checks for the moment, right? 5 minutes later, it could be something else. With a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you would put it in the back of your arm. That's where the approved location is. And it stays in the back of your arm. So that's one prick for a certain amount of days. The one that I used to use, which is the Freestyle Libre, I was able to use it for 14 days. And then I would take it out and then put a new one in a different spot, on my arm. So it continuously checks your sugars every so often throughout the day, right? For the time that it is allowed to be used. And then it will, stop. And then, like I said, you'll put a new one on. It continues to help me know what I needed to do to lower my blood glucose as I was eating throughout the day, exercising throughout the day, and things of that nature. And I was able to get my A1C down in 5 months, y'all. Yes. It was a 15.1 when I found out I had type 2 diabetes, and it went down back in the normal range in 5 months. And a lot of times that's hard to do, right? It was not just because I was using a monitor, of course. I had to do some drastic things to make sure that it got down, because I wanted to make sure it got, my A1C went back down quickly. The quicker you can get your A1C to go back down to where it's supposed to be, the better it is for you, right? So that's why I was looking at long-term goals, go ahead and try to get my blood sugars down so that my A1C can go down as quick as possible so that I can reclaim my health. So that's what I did. Use that continuous glucose monitor. That way I don't have to prick my finger all the time. A lot of people, when they prick their finger with the glucometer, it hurts after a while because you have to prick it so often just to make sure throughout the day that that your blood sugars are looking good. Also, if you're on a weight loss journey, you want to make sure you're checking that scale every so often. Now, it's up to you when you check your numbers, but you want to check it every so often to know that you are doing what you need to do and the things that you're doing, whether they're effective or not, right? That's why it's important to check your numbers. If you never check them, how would you ever know if what you're doing is good? I know some people like saying, okay, I'm going to go by how I feel. Well, the only thing about that is when it comes down to your blood pressure or your blood sugars, sometimes people don't feel anything. For instance, me, I don't feel a type of way when my blood pressure goes up or when my blood pressure goes down, unless it's like drastic, right? I don't feel anything when my sugars go up or when they go down, unless it's a drastic change in it. So it may not be the best way to determine whether you are good or not good when it comes to your blood pressure, your blood sugar, or your weight by just a feeling, right? We already know how feelings are. Feelings are fickle, right? So we don't want to go by our feelings. We want to go by the facts. And the only way we're going to know the facts is to use the resources and the devices that they have available for us so that we can make sure that we know for sure what our numbers are. Remember, knowledge is power. So important, y'all. It's a game changer when you do. And just like you track your foods when you're on a weight loss journey and you want to make sure that you're eating the right amount of protein, carbs, and the right amount of fats, or you're tracking your water, it's the same thing with those blood pressure numbers and the blood glucose numbers and that scale. Don't be scared. Check those numbers so that you can do better. Remember, we're on a better health journey. And in order to be on a better health journey, we have to know our numbers. All right, y'all, I'm going to show you mine. And hopefully it inspires you to do your due diligence. Now, I check my blood glucose at least twice a day on most days. And these numbers look pretty good. But there are times when my blood sugars have been gone low, like this. I would not know this if I say 68, 66. I would not know this if I did not check my blood sugars. While yes, most of the time the sugars are okay, but there are those times when they're not. And how would I know 67? How would I know when they're like this, or how far it went down if I don't check it? Look at it. But I'm getting control of it by tweaking what I need to tweak so that I can get better results like this. Again, do you know your numbers? So thanks for watching. And until the next time, y'all be blessed. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell too so that you can get an alert when I drop the next video. All right. Y'all be blessed. See you soon.